Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyah b'dvarei. What is happening in Ukraine is absolutely devastating. It's an extremely painful thing to see, something that I never thought that I would see in my lifetime, an absolute invasion of a sovereign, first world democratic country. Our sages teach us, and the Holy Baal Shem Tov stressed this idea, and it's expounded upon by many of our Chabad Rebbes, that everything that a person sees in the world is by divine providence, and a person needs to learn a lesson from that which he sees. Over the last 7 days, watching the war in Ukraine and studying it, I've come to find 5 things that I would like to learn from in my own life and to share with you, my community. I had a neighbor many years ago. He's now in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. His name was Mr. Dinnerman. Mr. Dinnerman was a survivor of the Holocaust. Like me, he was one of 14 brothers and sisters. And he lost all of them. 13 of his siblings were killed by the Nazis in Bialystok. This is what he told me himself. And one day, I'm walking down Fleet Street in Forest Hills, and Mr. Dinnerman comes up to me and he says, Madchala. I said, yes, Mr. Dinnerman, was machst dir? How are you? Was machst du? How you feeling? And we got to talking. And he says to me, you know, Madchala, it's nicht, in Yiddish, he says, nicht als ich gläube nicht in der Eibester. Aber wie kann ich gläuben in Asa Eibester? He said, it's not that I don't believe in God after what happened. He says, but how can I believe in God after what happened? What are you going to tell someone the age of your grandfather, someone who went through enormous atrocities, anything? There was nothing that I could tell Mr. Dinnerman. Another day, Mr. Dinnerman sees me on the street and he says, Madchala. We got to talking. And he says to me, Madchala, sollte wissen, you should know, as mir machrivayich mimech yetzu. A verse in the Torah. Our sages tell us that sometimes destruction comes from the inside. And he went on to tell me about the Jews who unfortunately worked for the Nazis and the horrible atrocities that took place. I think what we're finding here is 2 ideas. On one hand, this partisan who fought against the Nazis, who eventually went on to fight in the Red Army and then come to America and start a wonderful realty business. On one hand, Mr. Dinnerman was telling me, how can I believe in God when something so bad happens? On the other hand, he was telling me that sometimes it's not God. Sometimes it's humans. Human beings cause this. God only gives them free choice. Without getting into the deep philosophical components to this conversation, we have to admit and agree that there are 2 components, 2 ways of looking at the world. One is we can blame God, and you can go your whole life doing this, or you could blame humanity. Or even better, humanity could take action. This is something that I always grew up on. The idea of humanity taking action. In place of blaming who and what and when and where is not what, but who. Who can I help? How can I help? What can I do? Not why it happens or who caused it to happen, but rather, who can I help? What can I do? I think that's ultimately the reality on the ground here, is what can we do? If Mr. Dinnerman taught me that destruction comes from the inside, then reparations, repairs, fixing, helping also has to come from the inside in order to make the world a better place and help Ukraine. We see that thousands of people are going to Israel now. Thousands of Jewish Ukrainians are off to the Holy Land to save themselves. And I thought to myself, there's a lesson in this. What is the lesson in this? We too should come back to our core, to our own inner Holy Land. Where do we need to go spiritually to be the better people, to be able to procure a better life for ourselves and our families? That's number one. Number two, something that's happened across the world now, in the UN, in the United States, in the European Union, in NATO, and in other countries, is they're calling a spade a spade. Now, the president of Russia is now, how should we say, known for who he is, known for what he is. You understand? So I think a lesson for us is calling a spade is going beyond hypocrisy. Not allowing ourselves to be opened to two sides in our lives. Not to be poseach al shnei seifim, as we say. Not to be hypocrites. We have to be thorough, we have to be authentic, we have to be real in our own personal lives. I think this is a very, very powerful and profound lesson that we could learn from what's happening in the world so beautifully, so authentically, to take this lesson to heart. I think a third lesson is that we can make a difference. You see, Ukraine was asking for help, not for a ride. They wanted weapons, helmets, vests, Stinger missiles, things that are going to protect them, javelins from the United States, and so on and so forth. Air defense systems. I think that this is an amazing, amazing, profound lesson as well. Not to underestimate how we can, in fact, make a difference. And sometimes you say, but it's so big, it's so huge, the world, peer pressure, the competition. Your little input, your little contribution could make a huge difference in your own life, for sure, in the life of your loved ones, your community, and the world at large. You don't even begin to understand how one mitzvah, one coin in the pushka, one good idea, one good thought, one good morning, one good afternoon, what the ripple effect could be for other people, for the community, and for the world. I think a fourth lesson is you see how people are supporting people. Come stay in my house. Come stay in my basement. Come to Moldova. Come to Poland. Come to Berlin, right? Come to Estonia. People are saying, come, I'll give you food. I'll give you clothing. You see how countries are coming, but people are coming. Individuals are coming forward to help. A lesson for us could be, I think, support someone. You know someone going through a tough time, call them up and say, listen, I'm here to support you. I'm here to help you. I want to do what I can. I know that you're going through a tough time, but I have something that maybe that I can offer you. And finally, I think what's very important here, and perhaps the most important, is that the president of Russia was talking. He always talks. He was always talking. He always said things. We just didn't listen. And even if he wasn't talking, he wasn't saying it, he was hinting to it. We didn't listen. It's unbelievable how someone who's based on KGB mentalities of espionage and spy warfare was talking so much. All we had to do was listen. And if we had listened, we would have seen, yes, amidst the things he said, he also said lies. So we need to be able to decipher the truth from the lies. But we also have to listen to the realities on the ground. We have to know with whom we're speaking. Now, we're not professional military personnel. We're not strategists. And who's to say what he was saying or what he wasn't saying? Who's to say what he meant or what he didn't mean? We'll leave this for the great professionals of the world. But one thing's for sure, I think, that a lesson we could learn is to listen. If you see someone acts in the wrongful way, you see someone is dropping bombs on innocent people in Syria, you see someone is connecting with the biggest bulvans, the biggest troublemakers in the world, listen. It doesn't have to be from the mouth. Look and see. This is a person that associates himself with countries that are communist and countries that are terrorists. We in life need to learn to listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. Listen to your soul. Listen to your friends and family. Listen to your children. Listen to your parents. Listen to your rabbis. Listen to your mentors, your teachers, your doctors. And believe. Believe that you can, in fact, support someone. Believe that you can, in fact, make a difference. Believe that hypocrisy is not a good thing and we should move beyond it, and believe that you should be able to come back to your core values. Because Baruch Hu should help that we should see peace in the world and no one should lose, not even one more life, not one more bullet. And we should see, like the Torah tells us, that when Mashiach will come, we will turn swords into plowshares with the coming of Mashiach. B'mheira v'yameinu, amen, l'chaim. To a beautiful Shabbos, to a beautiful Rosh Chodesh Adar, the second month, 60 days of joy, a beautiful Purim, celebrating, singing and dancing together with all the people of Ukraine and the people of the free world with Mashiach Tzedkeinu, B'mheira v'yameinu, amen. Thank you.